Welcome to MSP Unplugged's Emerging Vendor Series. I'm your host, Paco Lebron. Join us for this new series highlighting Connectwise Pitchit contestants as we highlight an emerging vendor who is changing the game and making a big impact in the MSP space. But before we go ahead and join them on our fun guests that we have today and our ever lovable co-host, I'd like to go ahead and talk about our great event, TechCon Unplugged. TechCon Unplugged will be at Woodbridge, New Jersey, September 7th to the 10th at the Delta Hotels Woodbridge. Join us for an evening mixer as we kick off 2.5 days of content to help you better your business, save money, save time, and improve your services. This show is for any size IT solution provider. As mentioned in the intro, whether you're an emerging MSP or a veteran in the space, this is the place for you. Tickets are on sale for our second tier of pricing at $299. Go ahead and head over to techconunplugged.com to get your tickets today. Now, who may I be referring to as our lovable, our redeemable? Sometimes a lot of people have a lot of other things to say about him. We have our lovable co-host, in my opinion, my good friend, Sean Lardo, economy evangelist over at Connectwise. Sean, how are you today?
Paco, I'm great. I wasn't expecting that introduction. I appreciate it. I feel all the love. Let me say that.
Hey, we got to make sure we get you an electrifying introduction when we have you come on the show here, my friend. But I'm also excited to introduce another one of my friend who will be at TechCon as well. But we're going to be talking about a little bit about what he's doing over at Pitchit. We have none other than Taher Hamid he is the co-founder of MSP-Camp. Taher, how are you today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be back on. Lots has changed since our original conversation, so I'm excited to dive in and talk about it.
Yep, Taher is a returning guest. We definitely, if you don't know much about him, you can get a much more in-depth information over on our previous episode. But we're going to go ahead and make sure we dive into a little bit about what he got going on, what we have taken care of over at the what he's experiencing over at the Pitchit competition, and dive in a little bit more with MSP-Camp. But Sean, I think I cut you off real quick. Do you have anything to share?
I was going to say, I love the fact that you use camp leader. I wasn't paying attention before. I love that your title was camp leader because I think that's fantastic.
Well, before at Alltech, my title was vice president. I was getting blown up with cold calls and emails. So I changed it to intern. So still, if you go to LinkedIn, my title is intern because these titles, I just don't care. Hilarious. And it just ends up people blasting me. So
I remember those days. I love that. Now that I have evangelist on my title, people are afraid to reach out because they think I'm going to lecture them about God. So, nobody wants a guilt trip first thing in the morning.
That is true. That is true. So, Taher, we mentioned that you are a returning guest, but for those that may not have seen that episode or may be listening or tuning in for the first time, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and kind of how you came into MSP-Camp?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep it concise. So I started at an MSP 7 years ago. I'm still at that MSP. It's called Alltech Services in Lakeland, Florida. When I started, there was no marketing, no sales, nothing. It was like 3 people in a warehouse. Every time it rained, we couldn't be on the phone because it was like a tin roof, right? It was terrible. So I went through like the hard knocks of learning marketing through like YouTube. And we had an agency that, the owner had been paying for years. And we all know that I've almost never heard an MSP say, yeah, I love my agency, like not once, right? Mm-hmm. But we did learn a lot from the agency. A lot actually. So it was helpful for sure. Even though it wasn't great at getting leads, it was like, okay, cool. Like I didn't know anything about MSP marketing. So then fast forward 7 years, we've grown to 27 employees, over 4 million in revenue. And I really feel like very confident in marketing and sales because I do both roles. I'm the head of the marketing and sales and account management at Alltech. And, we only market in our county. I think that's another thing MSPs do. They try and spread themselves thin when there's so much opportunity right around them. So we spent so much time and effort creating these campaigns and they're working for us. So I went to the owner. I was like, hey, why don't we package this up and help other MSPs? Like everybody struggles with marketing. We know this stuff has worked for us. Let's package it up. Let's put it in a way that it's easy to understand and easy to implement. And let's give it to MSPs outside of our county. So that simple idea, which was probably only 8 months ago, now is blowing my mind how much kind of traction and engagement it's gained. So we're moving fast and hard in that direction.
So awesome. You we were talking about this before you got on air. We know that the marketing. Well, let me back up. The marketing agency you're working with, where are they? Do you work with them still ever or what?
No. We fired them years ago.
Why?
we were doing better in-house, and I'd rather have that money for someone in-house that is at our company, and that worked beautifully.
Awesome. And now going back to my point, you fired them just like most MSPs have fired other marketing agencies, because there's a lot of them out there that claim they do a really good job, and they do probably do a good job on some level, but really there's a disconnect always. So what's the difference between you and your offer and them?
It's a great question. And my offer is very different because we're not an agency. We are specifically a marketing campaign company. Mm-hmm. And the first thought is, okay, cool. Well, that just means you're taking responsibility off of you. And that's, and the reality is outsourcing marketing just doesn't work. And this is exactly why. To do marketing correctly in the MSP space to where it actually works, you have to dedicate 10 to 20 hours a week. So that's 40 to 80 hours a month. That's the reality of how long it would actually take to consistently execute on marketing. And then I ask MSPs, and I think about myself, do I have any client, even the ones that pay us big money, that I spend 40 to 80 hours on? Of course not. It wouldn't be profitable. They'd have to pay us $20,000 a month or more. So the reality is the best way to execute marketing is to have someone in-house. So I gave, with MSP-Camp, the marketing coordinators, the marketing managers, the people at the MSPs, or even outsource 10 hours a week person, all the tools they need and all the content they need to execute on the marketing and actually have results.
Okay. So your results are quantifiable then, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, because it's the campaigns we use at Alltech. So the social proof to start MSP-Camp is, this is what it's done for us. And now we have social proof with our clients and members that have had great success with using the content and getting more leads out of it.
Okay. My next question is pretty simple. As you mentioned, there is time that's allocated to doing this regardless. Even if you use a foolproof plan and it's easy as hell, there's still time, right, that you have to allocate and dedicate towards it. Yep. So how do you vet out the right opportunities, the right MSPs, and where do you tell them that their responsibility really is?
When it comes to the right MSP, any MSP that's eager, I don't care what your size is. I have a member that has 200 employees, and I have a member that has 1, right? I don't care. What I care is someone that's willing to grow, and we do lock by county and in other places, regions outside of the US, so they can't be in that region. So I don't want someone using the same campaigns.
Right.
So those are the criteria. Now, what responsibility they hold, the way I think of it is content is king, but distribution is queen. You can't just have the greatest content in the world if it's sitting on your YouTube channel. It just doesn't work. So the distribution part of the content is 100% on the MSP. So when it comes to how they distribute the content, we provide guides on the MSP-Camp with a checklist. This is how you do social media correctly in the MSP space. It's not selling. It's not always selling. It's amazing. Every single agency, every post on social media is like, this is why you should work with us. This is why you should work with us. I'm like, that is not how you build a following. It's just not. It doesn't work. It needs to be at 80-20 value, funny. We do a lot of funny stuff because that's worked for us. Like, there's so much corporate wash crap out there where it's just someone looking at a computer or 2 people shaking hands. I'm like, this stuff is so forgettable. It's not only not helping your brand, it is hurting your reach. So when you're leading in with trying to educate them, trying to literally make them laugh, then they're going to pay attention to the other stuff where you do provide value on your service. So when it comes to responsibility, yeah, it is totally on the MSP. And that is why we recommend getting an intern, right? We have an intern guide. How do you do an intern? Put it on Handshake if you're in the US, and there's alternatives in other places. You only need someone 10, 20 hours a week, and you're going to be doing way more than an agency, because the thing the agencies know is not that much. Marketing is not that hard. MSPs can figure out IT and IP addresses and subnets. Figuring out scheduling on Publer or HubSpot or whatever is not a big deal. So when it's all laid out in a clear way, it's very easy to distribute the content.
Okay. So you mentioned intern. So are you, when you work with these clients, your clients, are you giving them suggestions on what they would need resource wise between people, technology, stuff like that to actually do this?
Yes, every piece of it. So we include job descriptions, questions they need to ask, what to look for an intern versus what to look for in a coordinator, because they are, one's going to get paid more. So yeah, we make that very clear. And then how do you schedule on social media? We say, hey, Publer is what we use. There are tons of other options, Growably and other situations where you can schedule out social media. That's just one aspect of marketing. I think the other thing that I hear from members all the time is when they get into a campaign, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize marketing campaigns were so robust. It's like, yeah, it's not social media and emails. That's not marketing campaigns.
Right.
You go on vendor sites and it's social media and emails. I'm like, that's not a campaign. At least sometimes I'll see in there where they include telemarketing scripts. And I'm always impressed. I'm like, okay, at least you're starting to get a little bit outside of like the cliche marketing stuff. But then you go into it and it's like one script. It's like, that's not a telemarketing campaign. It's got to be an 8-point touch. If you call one person one time, good luck. There's zero chance. Well, not zero chance, but almost zero chance you're going to get it. It's got to be a 4-touch process. Call, email, call, email, call, email, call, email. And that ties into the rest of your campaign.
Yep.
Like that is what a robust campaign, like, if you go to the healthcare campaign, we do vertical campaigns now. There's like 10 different facets. There's remarketing. There's motion graphic videos. There's emails. There's the blogs, and the blogs, sorry to rant, but the blogs are not 10 technologies you can use in your home or what to do with the latest iPhone. Like, I'm sorry, that kind of content drives me crazy.
I really love that content.
Yeah.
But I think what we want to make sure we drive into, right, and Taher, and I think this is the biggest piece, is that, you can throw whatever you can at the wall, but without a strategy, you're not going to get anywhere far. And I think that's where there's a lot of failure with either A, the MSP engaging with a marketing company or some type of a lead gen company, or B, the other way around, a marketing company that may be coming into the space and trying to adopt this as an industry and not understanding that how to educate the MSP or the IT solution provider that a strategy is needed before you get into any of that. I remember having a conversation with a former agency where I'm like, yeah, I want to get infographics and I want to get whatever. And I remember her saying, well, what's the strategy? I was like, well, what do you mean? I'm just going to dump that and, we'll go have brand awareness. She's like, that's not what a strategy is. What are you trying to do? And, diving into a lot of the things that you've mentioned on MSP-Camp, building avatars, figuring out who you want to adhere to, things of that nature. But, kind of switching gears a little bit, it sounds like you have really identified a lot of the things that the MSP arena has gone for, and you heard about the Pitchit competition. And you are a current contestant right now.
Yeah.
With kind of everything going on, it seems like you're on the ball. What made you, why don't we start with this? How did you find out about the program first? And what made you decide to apply?
Well, I was watching Jennifer Bleem's like LinkedIn video, and Sean makes a pretty quick impact. So I stopped scrolling, and
to say the least.
And, I don't know if he had a hat on or something. I don't remember.
God only knows.
Maybe it was just the beard. I don't know. But and he just mentioned Pitchit, and I'd never even heard of it, which is such a surprise to me. So I immediately went and applied. Now, so because I'm a marketer, I immediately messaged Sean, and I was like, "Hey, man, just applied," and he was super nice right away, like, dude, just so like supportive, and so that's how I originally heard about it.
Cool.
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
Sean,
you did. I think I had a message while I was still live streaming with Jen. So I think that's when it came through, and I just was like, and again, it comes back to something you said about like you want people that are eager to grow. That's what I'm looking for. Pitchit is built around companies that are looking to grow their business. Period. You have to have an ignorant optimism.
Yep.
And you have to have a drive.
Yeah.
Or I can't help you. It's that lead the horse to water concept. I'm not, we're not babying anybody. So yeah, your messages were very appreciated, because at least that meant my part was working of getting people to know the program existed and people that want to actually win or grow regardless are involved. So it was a very welcomed message.
Awesome.
And for those that are trying to figure out, well, what the heck is Pitchit? Tune into the last 3 episodes of the Emerging Vendor series. We did have the final 3 contestants of last year's competition, and me and Sean go into more detail of what that competition is all about. But going into that, Taher, when you applied and you decided you wanted to get involved, what are you looking to accomplish by going through the program when it comes to Pitchit?
Well, I mean, just being totally honest, I wasn't sure. Like, I didn't know what it was. I did the application. I was like, oh, that's pretty extensive. I just didn't know anything, right? I was so like, in that out of the loop. And then all of a sudden, after I got in, everything was just so polished. So right away, I was like, wait a minute, like, this is pretty like legit, I mean, it's Connectwise, so obviously it's going to be legit, but I just didn't, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then like, we're 3 episodes in, and like the people that are coming to this, I've been to so many trainings where it's like, they just get some guy to come in and talk about a thing, but it's like truly experts in like these really defined roles of how to improve your business and be like channel, like launch ready. So I've already been blown away. So even though I didn't know what I wanted to get out of it when I started, now I'm like, I want to get everything out of it, because just the public speaking one, the smile, like I do so much public speaking, and the pauses and the smile, like that's something I'm going to take with me forever. And there's so many, like the agenda is just incredible. So I'm showing up to every single one. I'm taking notes. I'm really leaning into this, when at first I was just like, oh, this is going to be really, selfishly, I was like, this is going to be really good exposure for me, but the reality is even though it is going to be great exposure, just like this is amazing. The amount of value I've already gotten 3 of the 16 or 17 that we're going through, I'm honestly blown away. And that's just really impressed, Sean. Really appreciate it. I don't know what y'all get out of this, but I'm so happy you're doing it.
He's being paid very well. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. I actually, in that contract you signed, 5% of your evergreen, just so we're clear, in perpetuity. No, I'm glad that you enjoy it. I mean, the fact is, and he's referring to, yesterday we had our workshop with David Brown. And David is a really good public speaker. They wrote a book on things. He's a minister. Him and his brother are twins. They do a podcast also. I loved the way he started his presentation. I didn't like the president's comment, the quotes. I never thought about it. And he was like, so he was literally, each slide, the first several slides was a picture of a former president and also Martin Luther King Jr. And he would say part of the line, and he's like, and the rest. And he was right. I knew the rest. And he goes, the reason why the reason why he started with that is because he wanted to stress about the impact of how when you speak, the way you carry yourself and what the message carries, like storytelling 101, right? And I was like, holy hell, yeah! I literally was finishing every line.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he goes, doesn't matter what I said after that. You were probably listening, maybe not, whatever, but you now know that they're telling a story, and you're in it. And those lines have transcended over every generation.
Yep.
So yeah. And as far as the speakers are concerned, I mean, I'm just like with working with Paco, it's been a community initiative. All the speakers that come in are friends of mine, and I've asked them last year, I said, can you do me a solid? This year again, can you do me a solid? Right. And they all have, and they're all experts in their fields. I know I've watched them in action. So it's not like I saw an advertisement from somebody. No, like literally I've worked alongside with them in some capacity, and I know they've done what they said they're doing. So I'm very fortunate and thankful for that. And then the rest of the people that are doing our Connectwise colleagues that's their jobs too, full time. And what do we get out of it? Well, we get these good conversations for one. Two, I mean, the reality of the competition itself is we're looking for the people that can help us to make MSPs better.
Yeah, nice.
That's it makes our lives easier. We can use Paco and you both because you're both MSPs. If we can, if Connectwise is the mothership, right? Fact. I mean, most companies use us for their back end, everything, and that's their backbone. But all these other companies that come in, they want to try and use. We want to make sure they're able to complement us and complement the MSP. Most importantly, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. That's to follow up to the question of what are you trying to get out of this? Too, now that you just said that, I'm going to be on that stage. So I'm going to be in the top 3. I'm going to make sure of it. I'm going to do everything I can. I know it's not, everyone's marketing may not be the most exciting thing in the world from a channel company, but I'll make it exciting. We'll get there. Hopefully. We'll see.
I mean, it is though. It is exciting if done right. You just have to beat the stigma. And you have to make it again, every MSP I ever worked with, the reason why they don't grow is because it's too much work that they don't even like doing.
Or just trying to figure it out as they're going through in the mode of work that they don't want to do.
Right. If you don't want to do it, you're not going to apply yourself.
Yeah. Now, Taher, very strong words, right? That you're going to be on that stage as a finalist. Why don't we go into a little bit about kind of the offerings that you have for our fellow MSPs and IT solution provider? I think you have a very creative offering in the way that you're offering your services. So can you talk a little bit about how are you getting in front of MSPs, how your plans are working on really trying to not only provide great information, but engage so that you can help them moving forward with their marketing?
Yeah, so we have a lot. There's a lot coming. Right now, we have like a Ranger and Leader membership that's county locked. The only difference in the Ranger and Leader is leaders. We rebrand the campaigns for the MSP. So instead of them having to do it in Canva and everything, we will brand it for them. That's the primary difference. And live action ads, which are like these crazy ready to run ads. Like one of them, we run outside and there's a giant CGI ram-eating monster, like that type of ads, not two people talking about how great the IT company is, right? It's like stuff that makes people stop in the social media. And then actually today we just launched a non-geo-locked Scout Plus, where it's just social media graphics, social media videos, and postcards. Because what I always find is that's what MSPs do well. Well, they don't, the content sucks, but at least they're consistently posting on social media. So they get that. So I was like, okay, cool. So we'll do like a really inexpensive, like non-geo-locked, here's to improve your social media today.
Yeah.
So that's our core service of offerings. And then how do we plan to, I think one place we struggle with a little bit is it's almost like you have to be a podcast listener to really get the most value of MSP-Camp, because they almost go hand in hand. But there's a lot of members that are not podcast listeners. Most of our members come from the podcast. And it's called the No Fluff MSP Marketing Podcast, because we really try and cut out the BS. It's like, okay, what do you need to know about remarketing? What do you need to know about Google My Business? Like, what do you need to know about these things? What works and what doesn't work? And with 7 years and like, really good ROI on marketing, we know kind of how to talk about, we know well enough that we're not like just making stuff up. So what we're building for all members is a course. And it's like, oh, great, another course. But again, it's going to take that no fluff approach where it's like, no, we're not going to talk to you. We're not going to do 20 minutes of concepts. It's like, this is how you get your list of people. These are the pain points and opportunities. Do not talk about anything outside of these pain points. The minute you start talking about outside of these pain points, it's not in their mind. Like, they're not thinking about those things. They're not thinking about firewalls. They're not thinking about whatever. They're thinking about like, why does my internet go down? Why did it go down? Why is my internet slow? They're thinking about specific things that are challenging their day. Or like, why doesn't this stuff talk to each other? Or like, why do I still have a server here and making loud noises? So we're building that course now that we're launching this year. And that way, if it's a marketing coordinator or the owner that wants to get more into marketing, they have every single thing they need in one course, and it's built on modules. So if they need to refresh, they just go to the module. So that's something I'm really excited about, because I feel like we're not doing a good enough job of really making sure every member knows exactly what to do. We give them the guides, we give them the resources, we give them the content, but they really want to step by step. And so that's what we're building out now.
I think what's even more interesting is the fact that, so two things. One, I think where your differentiator is compared to some of the other marketing services is that you're not a former MSP. You're still experiencing a lot of the things, and you're explaining and demonstrating and even offering some of your Scout information as you join on to MSP-Camp for free. A lot of the things that have worked and that are still continuing to work. I think there are those that are in the space that either were former MSPs or trying to get into the space to try and understand it, where, like you just mentioned, the last 7 years, this is what you've been breathing, you've been understanding, where the end users are going, and you're finding success in it. And I think that translates not only to the offerings, but you hear it on the podcast as well, which in my opinion is even another multi-touch marketing point for MSP-Camp, right? Sure. But it also allows for that complete unison of, hey, I have one avenue to get my marketing in check. I have another avenue to get it next level. If for someone that may already be on that level and they're looking to expand on that, you have that availability as well. So I think it just allows for a lot of people to understand, hey, there's no fluff. We'll do that pun, yes, right? And understanding that, this is how that goes. Now, for those that are listening in, and, again, there's so many in the space, right? And we've talked a little bit about what differentiates, why that's going through. I think for me, what was the most, and I want to hear your feedback, was, for me, it was the fact of, hey, if you want to give us a whirl and you want to call us out on our stuff, join and see and give us the feedback, right? Yeah. No paywall, no whatever. We're going to give you quite a bit, and quite honestly, there's quite a bit when you join in on the platform. And so when you jump in and you have that, I really feel like that is a great avenue or a leader for those to join in and get immersed into the ecosystem. Can you share a little bit about maybe some of your favorite campaigns that partners have told you, like, dude, we should be paying this for you, or hey, this is what's helped convert them to being a paying member because of the value they found to expand their relationship with a partner. And I'll dive into why that's so important on being partners versus just a transactional situation as well. And Sean probably knows what I'm going to go at afterwards, but I'm just curious as to kind of some feedback or stories you have from partners that have joined and got some real benefits from you.
So I think, our mission really is to help as many people as possible. And everyone says that, but the reality is that's why we give everything. I don't hold anything back on the podcast. I don't hold anything back on the guides, and all that's free. So what I tell MSPs is like, just use us for free. Like just if you're about to get a testimonial, how do you do that? Right. If you're about to get a case study, how do you do that? Right. I want to provide all of that so that any MSP in the world, someone right next to me, I have someone that's a member that's right next to me. I don't care. Right. Like I want them to take that and learn. Now, the value we provide there, Go Giver, right, does tend to get people to upgrade as long as their county's available. And that's great. That was, when we started the podcast, it wasn't even intended that was going to be our number one lead source. That was not intended, but that is definitely the case. And so when they actually get in there, my favorite campaign, the one that we get the most props for, is probably the Microsoft 365 campaign. And I think there was a mindset shift as people realize, and when you market managed IT services, it's way harder to get in front of people. It's way harder. They don't really understand what that means, even this day and age. But everybody understands Microsoft 365. And when you tell them that they're paying an expensive license and all they're using for it is Office products and emails, they feel that and they know that. And so a simple ebook about all these other lesser known apps and how they can help your business today, a simple piece of content like that has gotten people leads. Now, the campaign's way more robust than that. And it really goes into educating and informing prospects on, hey, what else do you have in that membership? One of our key graphics is you're paying for the Corvette and you're driving like a Kia, and you're driving like a clunker, and everybody feels that. It's content people can relate to and understand. So that's when we get a lot of props with. And I hear a lot of people say that, it's worth it for the tech tips alone, which, I don't know, but we do like these video tech tips of simple stuff. It's not like, what does the spam filtering do? Like, what do you really cares? Right. It's like, hey, what about that Teams update and how can you use it to impress your friends? Right. Like, because again, that type of content, the intent is business to business. If someone's using Teams, they're likely a business. So we want to create content around business to business content, not 10 apps on your iPhone. Even if somebody engages with that, you want to create content that is going, if someone shows intent, they are the right prospect, or they could be a potential right prospect. You don't want residential. You don't want businesses too small. You don't want businesses with bad budget, etc. Right? And so we built content around that. I know that was kind of a long answer. I don't know.
That was a long answer. That was a long answer. We got to work on your pitch, obviously. Thank God you're in a competition. It teaches you to pitch. No, so I have a question then to this. Okay. So one, we've identified the fact that you're trying to create engaging content that's practical to people, right? And then we've also identified that you're creating content and a process to which you're able to vet out the noise, essentially, and get and to help qualify. You also have acknowledged the fact that you have created content and a process around the other side of the business of marketing, which is the business development piece almost, right? Where you're prospecting, appointment setting, and whatnot. So you've kind of engaged in the first half of the journey of prospects or suspects, let's say, to prospects. Yeah, that's how it sounds to me. Am I missing something so far?
That's spot on.
Okay. And then you mentioned about a platform. So what platform are we referring to and how does it operate? Because Paco threw it out there. So people are going to ask like, okay, you go into a platform. So are you actually using a platform to deliver this shit for them? Or are you a platform people just to go find stuff like a repository?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Currently, that's the case. We have a long roadmap ahead of us, and we're actually starting to get revenue out. And so that roadmap is starting to get shorter, which is nice. But yeah, just mostly to go get the content.
Well, don't say just. Just is a horrible word to use because it
good point
what you're doing. So it's not just. You're welcome.
See, this is why I'm here. This is good stuff.
No, because I tell you now, like, okay, think about this. I love using SharePoint for this example because SharePoint, it's gotten better, much better. But years ago, when they first launched SharePoint, everybody was all excited, and it's a great segue for Microsoft conversation. And everybody was excited about SharePoint. They're like, yes, we're going to be able to do all this, and then it was like, holy hell, we can't do anything in this thing, and it became SharePoint became where documents went to die.
Yeah.
Right. And the only person who used it was the HR person that would put out that email once every year and say, your tax information is here. And and the benefit package is here. And that was like the only time you would go there. Right. And so that the reason I'm going down this path is because repository done in the right way is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you've already talked about a lot of work is done within marketing. So if you send me to this place that has a million places to go, I'm never going to get things done. So, so in your platform, are you segmented and simplifying for people to find things?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it is structured.
Yeah. Yep. Structured per campaign that you want to go after. And then there's other structures such as tech tip videos, motion graphic videos. It's very structured as to what type of content you're looking for.
Okay.
We also include templates. When someone's like, hey, how do I structure my service tiers, or what does an onboarding timeline look like? They can grab that document for their sales folder.
Very easy to navigate for sure.
Okay. And and the roadmap is eventually you'll also be a delivery mechanism as well.
Yes, but it might be through a partner.
That's fine.
Yes.
Again, that doesn't matter. It's about getting the job done, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's always been on my roadmap.
That's exactly what I said about Connectwise and you guys.
Yep.
Connectwise does one part. That last mile may be you.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So, good. You answered my questions. I'm a shout out.
So rounding
short and concise. I need to get better like that.
Well, I think that's why we have this here, is to really help those to get exposure, really gain the access that everyone should need. As we round out the episode, Taher, why don't you go ahead and kind of give us maybe something we haven't covered about MSP-Camp, any type of lasting words or something that we haven't covered, just for those that have now peaked MSP-Camp for a second time, for those listening or hearing for the first time.
I feel like we did cover the core thing of MSP-Camp. So I think my whole thing is, this whole thing's kind of blowing my mind. Like when I started it, I didn't know it would be a thing. I really did not even think it was going to be a thing. And when we launched, I look back 6 months ago and I was like, how did anybody pay me? Like literally that's the way I think of it. And like now our churn rate went from 20% when we first launched to 2%. So when people come in, they're really surprised by how much is in there. And again, we are just getting started. And the amount of emails I get either from the podcast or people liking the content, because it really stands out, because I'm posting on my MSP too. So it's got to get my, seal of approval. I'm really picky. It just means the world to me. And it's been the greatest career pursuit of my life. Because I love content. I'm a creative, and to be able to use that to help people grow their business is just, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm glad it's actually a thing.
That's awesome.
I love that. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of marketing and sales pieces, because I think that's, first off, if done right, it's what feeds the engine for development.
Yep.
You know,
and I was just going to say that.
Yeah, like even for Paco as an MSP, how do you know what to do to provide? What to provide? You got to hear what the audience is saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of times you don't, because you're back in that back room, you're busy working, your head's down. So if done right, you get to hear the feedback on where you should be going to, what you guys should look like today and where you should be tomorrow. But I also think that it becomes exciting and fun if you give somebody a practical way of doing stuff. And that's a struggle piece in the MSP space for marketing sales, especially.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, I think, as we round out the show, gentlemen, I think this is another one in the can. Sean, I think this is a great interview from many others. You heard it here first. Taher says he's going to be on that stage. So we will go ahead and see as we look at the preliminaries here in August. But for those that have tuned in, and again, I appreciate you both coming on here today. And for you that listen to the content and you like what you have to hear, we're going to be doing this throughout as our special edition throughout the summer. So if you are interested, definitely make sure that you click that like and subscribe button over at the MSP Unplugged YouTube channel. We will be releasing these, so tune in every Wednesday and Thursday to catch more of the series. You can go ahead again to youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. As I mentioned before, what do? Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, because you will be notified whenever a new episode is going to be released. We want to thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.
Thank you guys so much.